What's going on, everybody? Steve here. I'm at Willard Park. I've done a skate park tour of this particular park before, which you can check out, but that's not why we're here today. Today, I'm going to teach you how to nollie flip. I have been trying to do some trick tip videos kind of on the side, and most of them have been slappy tutorials, but I thought, why not do a flip trick? And why not do one that maybe is not covered as extensively as, say, a kickflip or a 360 flip. So I'm going to teach you nollie flips the way that I learned them. Hopefully it produces a breakthrough for some of you. If not, there's plenty of other nollie trick tip videos out there that you can check out if you want. But I feel like you've got to get information from a variety of sources if you're going to learn through the internet. So without further ado, I will take you through my approach to doing nollie flips. All right, so I'm going to start out this video by talking about the differences between setting up for a kickflip and setting up for a nollie flip. And the flick is also going to be different. Now, how you land on these tricks is pretty much the same, but it's important to understand the differences between kickflips and nollie flips in terms of the setup. So I am a regular footed skater, so my front foot is going to be off to the left, and my back foot is the right. So when I'm setting up for a kickflip, you'll notice I kind of have my foot right centered on the tail, and my front foot is kind of angled off to a side so that I can get a nice, easy flick off the nose of my board. And that's pretty straightforward. Now with a nollie flip, it's not quite reverse because I have to really train my leg, my back leg, to know how to flick in such a way that kicks it straight back behind me instead of, or straight back from where I went or where I was coming from instead of straight back behind me. Because if I kick it from behind me, I'm not going to get my back foot back over the board in time to really land it. And typically I might not get as nice of a flick. And my front foot has to be ready to kind of come backwards and land on the bolts of the board. With a kickflip, you can kind of afford your popping foot to kind of dangle back behind you a little bit. You can't really do that with a nollie flip because if it's dangling back behind you, you're going to miss landing on the board. So needless to say, when I'm setting up for a nollie flip, I'm going to actually have my back foot angled a lot more than I would for a kickflip. And that's just so that I can get that really nice flick off the tail and it goes straight back behind me, or straight back from where I came from instead of back behind me, behind my body. So I don't want to do this. I want to flick more like out that way. And my foot placement really helps me set up for this. So when I'm rolling, I'm going to have my front foot kind of angled a little bit so I get a nice pop. And my back foot is going to be angled pretty sharply in comparison to my flicking foot for a kickflip. And that's because it really helps me control where my board is flicking and staying below my feet so that I can land on it. Now watch the differences in terms of how I'm rolling setting up for a kickflip, like this. Now see how I'm setting up for a nollie flip. My back leg is really sharp for a nollie flip, whereas for a kick flip, it's not as sharp in terms of the angle off to the side. So if I'm setting up for a kick flip, I'm basically pointed 45 degrees, kind of between, if you were drawing a right angle between like 90 degrees being your nose and perpendicular to your board coming off of the rail, my front foot's right at about 45-degree angle. Now, if I do the same kind of right angle between my tail and the front of my board, my back foot is going to be more like it's a sharper angle. So it's going to be more like 30, 25 degrees pointed towards the tail. So it's going to, and again, this is what really helps you flick and kind of control and keep the board underneath your feet. All right, so now look at me from behind. This is how I'm setting up for a kickflip. Kind of nice 45-degree angle with my front foot. And my knee is not really turned all that much. Whereas if I'm setting up for a nollie flip, it's going to be a lot tighter of an angle. And I'm almost kind of bow-legged, similar to like when I did a tutorial over slappy front crooks, you kind of have your bow-legged stance where your feet point in opposite directions instead of one pointing straight forward in front of your body and one, you know, pointed in a different direction. So having that sharp angle with my back foot is really what helps me kind of get set up for a nollie flip. And it's going to feel a little unnatural. It's going to feel like you're twisting that back foot too much, and that's okay. It's going to really help you when you're trying to land on the board and flick it properly. So now we're going to get to flicking, and flicking is going to be really interesting where, you know, your stance is different, but the direction in which you flick is going to be pretty much the same direction, although it's opposite since you're doing nose versus tail. So I'm still kind of flicking straight in front of me, or in the case of nollie flip, I'm gonna flip like straight back from where I came from. So kick flip, watch this. I'm just flicking outward, kind of karate kick out in front of me. All right, so nollie flip, I'm gonna do the exact same thing where my back foot is at a much tighter angle. Much tighter angle on that. Like, again, the flip is, it really helps for me to keep my back foot kind of going straight off. All right, now let's watch this again. Kick flip, again, setting up so that I kick right out in front of me. Watch. All right, kicked right out in front of me. Granted, a little off to the side, but pretty much right out in front of me. Now back foot, setting up for a nollie flip, gonna kick right out behind me. All right, here we go. All right, so that's kind of how you're flicking the board. Now, you caught on those clips how I landed on it, where I basically am controlling it in such a way where I'm bringing my, in the case of a kickflip, I'm bringing my front foot around so that it lands. It kind of comes in a circular motion. The range of kind of a circular motion for your back foot on a nollie flip is a lot tighter. So kickflip, I can make a big loop around. Nollie flip, it's a lot tighter, all right? So watch this carefully. Again, kick flip right here, big loop around, landing bolts. Nollie flip, much tighter angle. All right, not the best, but you get the idea. All right, so I'm going to summarize everything that we just talked about, and then I'm going to show you some like slow motion nollie flips from different angles so that you can see the motion. But again, my foot setup, and remember, this is my front foot, so pointing out this way, I kind of keep that nice and even, a little bit slightly angled, so I'm not perfectly sideways, perpendicular to the rail of my board. I'm a little bit pointed off to the side, not much. And then my back foot, I have a real sharp point to it. So I'm almost twisting my ankle a little bit. And what that does is when I'm ready to pop, I'm putting my pressure on my nose, just like you would for a nollie, or, you know, obviously same type of thing if you're doing kick flips or ollies or whatever. But this time I'm using that sharp angle of my foot to flick fast. And again, my back foot's going to come around in a real sharp circle. And what that does is it gives me a quick flick, helps me to bring my feet back around and cover up my bolts so that I can really land that trick firmly. Granted, my foot will move around a little bit from time to time, get a little sloppy like everybody does. But that real tight angle on my back foot is what's helping me do the flick. So watch this, watch these different angles. I'll slow them down for you so that you get a sense for what's going on here. All right, so that does it for my nollie flip trick tip video. Hope you got some tidbits out of this that were helpful. If you need any help or want some advice, just drop your questions in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. But hopefully you'll find some value in this. If not, apologize. Maybe there's some other nollie flip video out there that's more helpful. But anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.